Hello friends, and welcome to today's video. This is Benjamin from English Classes Online. Today we want to look at how to write an article in the West African Senior School Certificate Examination and National Examinations Council Senior School Certificate Examination, illustrating with past questions. So in this episode we want to take our past question from Wassce of June 2008. The question is: write an article suitable for publication in one of your national dailies discussing the vandalization of public facilities in your country and its effects. Article writing is an important feature of English language learning, as it features in most English exams. So it is very important to learn how to write an article. And beyond the English exams, article writing is also a very lucrative skill that one needs even after school. So we are going to look at article writing from the practical perspective. If you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel. Click on the bell icon as well, so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be instantly notified. So let's dive into the lesson. Before we actually look at the question, before we start tackling the question, I would like us to look at the features of an article, familiarize ourselves with the features of an article. So here we can see the first thing that should be written in an article is the title, or what you call the headline. Don't forget that an article is usually published in a newspaper, magazine, or journal, and the headline is usually what people look at first, and then they decide whether to read the article or not. So the headline is very important. That is the title. Now the second item in an article is the introduction, which is the first paragraph. The first paragraph should contain 4 essential ingredients. It should contain the subject matter, the thesis, the enumeration, and the intro. Now, article writing as a journalistic exercise is written with what we call the inverted pyramid style of writing. In other words, if you are writing an article, you have to ensure that the key points or the key ideas or the major information could be found at the beginning of the article, precisely in the first paragraph, because someone should be able to have an overview of what the article is about just after reading the first paragraph. And another reason it is very important you do this, not only in an article but also in other forms of writing, if you are sitting for any English exam. The reason is simple. Most markers of exam scripts don't want to spend too much time in marking one script. So you should be able to convince them, to impress them in your first paragraph. So that is really very important. Well, we shall look into all these details. Now, the third thing we should find in an article is the body of the article. Usually, an article is a piece of writing that discusses a topic of public interest, and most of the time, an article handles a social problem or a social topic, So in some cases, or in most cases, you should be talking of the causes of the social problem, the effects, and the solutions. Now this should be contained in the body of the article. Then the fourth item will be the conclusion, which is the last paragraph. And then the next one is that you have to write your name as the writer, beginning with your surname, and then name and place of your residence. Now these are the features of an article. Now let's go further and look into a few more things before we go into answering the questions. Now we want to look at how to create an outline. Before you start writing, you should plan. It is often said that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Writing an article, or indeed any other meaningful piece of writing, is like building a house. So you need to have a building plan, but in this case you need a writing plan. So that is an outline. So write an article suitable for publication in one of your national dailies discussing the vandalization of public facilities in your country and its effects. Now we want to create an outline. So the first thing we do here is that we have to list the causes. And here we have come up with two major points, since we are going to discuss not just the what we are asked to discuss is really not the causes but the effects. But in order to give a clearer picture of the problem, we just mention the causes because there is really no smoke without fire. So we mentioned two causes. The first one is belief that government property is no man's property, because people have that attitude that after all is government property, is not my father's property, is not my own. So that is one of the causes. Then the second one is lack of security for public facilities. Then in talking of the effects, we list at least three major effects. The first one is huge damage to national economy. Vandalization of public facilities damages national economy. Then the second one is loss of lives and property of citizens. And the third one is electric power outages. All right, so there are more, but at least we have to come out with the one we want to discuss. Then talking about the solutions, the first solution we want to profile is that government should provide security for public facilities. The second one is that they should enact new laws against vandalism. And the third one is that there should be public enlightenment campaign against vandalism. That's to reorientate the citizenry. All right, so we have created an outline. If you are in an exam hall, you can use the last page of your answer booklet and use that as a rough sheet, and you jot down your outlines there, and that's the points you want to use, just as we have done here. And once you have done that, after writing your article, then you remember to cancel it out. So that is the way it is done. Alright, so let's now go into answering the question. Let me show you exactly how to answer the question so that we will be able to look at it quite clearly, how the question ought to be answered. Alright, so here we look at the question once again, and you can see here, write an article suitable for publication in one of your national dailies discussing the vandalization of public facilities in your country and its effects. Alright, okay, so let's now go into our writing, having in mind the features we discussed and also the outline we created. We bear in mind. Now, one thing we ought to know is that talking about the subject matter, I mentioned 4 essential ingredients that should be contained in the first paragraph of your article. And we mentioned that you have to begin with the subject matter, followed with the thesis, then the enumeration, and then the intro. Okay, so now there are different ways of presenting your subject matter. What we decided to use here now is what is called the rhetorical question method. Now, this is a situation where you begin to raise questions. It's a very effective, very powerful way of beginning a piece of writing, because it compels the reader to really read, since it is raising critical questions that need answers. But one thing with rhetorical questions is that it's not a question that demands an answer from the listener. It's a question that is asked to achieve emphasis or a dramatic effect. And so it works quite effectively. Let's look at how we have used it. There are other methods of presenting your subject matter. There is the direct method of going straight into discussing the problem. There is also the quotation method, where you use a quotation that is relevant to the topic in discourse, and some other methods. So let's look at how we have used our rhetorical question method here. Is it not disheartening to find that each time you listen to the news on radio, watch the news on television, or read the news on the pages of the newspaper, what you hear or read is that public facilities are being vandalized in various parts of the country? How long will the government fold its arms and allow this unpatriotic and wicked practice to continue? You see, we are raising questions about this, and as we raise the questions, it draws the attention of the reader, because when you are raising critical questions, and these questions are highlighting the gravity of a problem, of course it raises the reader's curiosity. Now, more questions. When will the government and the entire citizenry wake up to their responsibilities and do something to stop this monster? Must all public facilities disappear? I mean, must everything stop working in this country before the government takes positive steps towards stopping the ugly practice? But should this abominable practice be allowed to continue? You see, we have raised a number of questions. And then we now begin to inch closer to our thesis. Now, something should be done fast to arrest the situation. In view of this, I would like to examine the effects of the vandalization of public facilities in this country and the steps that should be taken to arrest the situation. So here we have created our thesis. This obviously is our thesis. The thesis is the central argument, I mean the overriding message, your viewpoint, the angle from which you want to approach the particular topic, what you want to say in essence. That is your thesis, and this is what we have done here. We have said that we want to discuss the effects, the effects of the vandalization of public facilities in this country and the steps that should be taken to arrest the situation. So we have created a picture of a social problem, and we have already given our reader a sense of direction to know exactly where we are going concerning the topic. Now, we have created an outline. We already know that we have already jotted down some points, and so we pick each point and we create what is known as the topic sentence, and then we discuss the point. All right, that's the way. That's the right way to write. Okay, so let me erase this so we can see quite clearly. Okay. Now, our second paragraph begins with our point 1 in our outline. And here we say, public facilities continue to be vandalized almost on daily basis in this country, owing to the general belief that public facilities are government property and that government property is no man's property. You see, that is the first thing we mentioned, that one of the causes is that people believe that government property is no man's property. This is the belief of the vandals who vandalized the PHCN electric transformers and cables, the NNPC pipes conveying petroleum products, equipment and facilities in schools, libraries, stadiums, and so forth. The irony of it all is that it is all the people in the community that suffer when public facilities are vandalized. For instance, when the PHCN electric cables are cut and carted away, or when a whole transformer is dismantled and taken away, the entire community is thrown into darkness as a consequence. So here we have actually stated the problem, and we have discussed the effect at the same time within this particular paragraph. So that actually is a very effective way of discussing our points. Now let's go further. Okay, so now this is our third paragraph, and then we are taking our second point from our outline. And our second point, you remember, is lack of security. Okay, let's look at it. The vandals have unimpeded access to electric cables or transformers, oil pipes, etc., simply because there are no security men guarding the facilities, or that those who are supposed to guard these facilities fail to do their job for various reasons. There is no serious effort to get the community members to collaborate with government agents or to maintain and secure public facilities. In fact, nobody cares to take any proactive measures. Everybody wakes up and starts shouting only when a major public facility has been vandalized and the entire community begins to suffer the consequence. So here we have again discussed our second point from our outline. You see, that is the benefit of planning. If you fail to plan your article before you start writing it, chances are that you write some paragraphs and then you go blank and you don't remember any other thing. But when you start with planning and jot down the ideas as they come flowing into your mind from your memory bank, then of course as you jot them down, you already have the information. So when you start writing, you already have the material to write with. Alright, so now we are taking our third point from our outline, and then we are now beginning with the effects. We are beginning with the effects of the vandalization of public facilities. And here we say, the effects of vandalization of public facilities are very great. On many occasions, when pipelines conveying petroleum products from refineries to NNPC depots are destroyed, thousands of barrels of oil worth millions of naira get wasted. In fact, the country loses billions of dollars yearly to thieves who vandalize pipelines and siphon crude oil. In some cases, hundreds of lives are lost in the cause of scooping oil from vandalized pipes. So here we are painted a very gory picture of the consequences, and that is really very, very important. So we are discussing it in details. Naturally, your writing should flow and give the reader the clear picture of the problem you are discussing, and that is just the way to go. Then our next paragraph, we discuss the next effect that we have listed in our outline. Don't forget that everything we are writing down here is already pre-planned. We already have it in our outline, so we just pick the point and we discuss it in one paragraph. And one other thing you need to note is that you discuss one major point in one paragraph. Don't mix things up. Pick one main idea and discuss that main idea in one paragraph. You begin with a topic sentence, then you come with the supporting details, to prove or to drive home the message. Alright, so let's look at what we have written further here. Furthermore, the incessant vandalization of gas pipelines that supply gas to power plants has been one of the factors militating against regular supply of electricity in Nigeria. So another effect is power outages. The situation is compounded by the fact that transformers and vital cables are frequently vandalized by unidentified persons. In most cases, communities are thrown into darkness for many months. Again, the electricity company, who spends millions of naira each year to replace vandalized items, has no option but to increase electricity tariffs every now and then to the detriment of the consumers. Other effects of vandalization include damage to buildings and facilities in schools, public libraries, public toilets, stadiums, and other public places, vandalized government vehicles, streets, signs, statues, etc. The government spends millions of naira, taxpayers' money, to repair or replace vandalized public facilities. Of course, this retards development. Alright, so that exactly we have given a clear picture of the effects of vandalization. Then we are now going to profile solution, and then we conclude our article. So let's look at it here. The following steps need to be taken urgently to stop the vandalization of public facilities. In the case of oil pipelines, the government should find ways of using modern technology to lay pipes at depths that will make vandalization impossible. In addition to this, the joint task force set up for the protection of oil pipelines should be given better and more sophisticated equipment to make them more effective in their job. There is need to maintain 24-hour surveillance over infrastructure and public facilities in strategic places. Here, the first thing we identified as lack of security, the major problem. We are saying that this should be addressed. This can be done through private guard companies or the army and other security agencies. Moreover, new laws against vandalism should be enacted, stipulating stiff penalties such as being sentenced to many years in jail, payment of huge sums of money as fine, or both. The relevant law enforcement agencies should discharge their duties effectively in apprehending and prosecuting offenders to serve as a deterrent to others. Above all, the government should mount public enlightenment campaign aimed at educating the citizens about the dangers of vandalism. See, we have talked about how this problem should be solved. Take note that even though we were specifically asked to discuss the effects, it is logical that we should point the way out, because an article should always come with a call to action to make it complete. Then here we conclude. I must say that if we are really serious about building a strong and virile nation, as most of our leaders often assert in their public speeches, we must stop this destroying monster called vandalism. Building and destroying are two opposites that cannot go hand in hand. The earlier our leaders move beyond empty rhetoric and take practical steps to stop the vandalization of public facilities, the better for all of us. Then the name here, Chikanele Nduka Enugu. Now you can see exactly how this article has been written. This is just to give you a step-by-step overview of how to write a very effective article. I want to believe that you have been able to learn how to do this. Don't forget that we began by looking at the features of an article, and we actually looked at an article as having the title or headline, followed by the introduction, which is the first paragraph. The introduction should of course contain 4 essential ingredients, beginning with the subject matter, the thesis, the enumeration, and the intro. I want to point out here that it is not compulsory for these 4 ingredients to be complete, but you have to highlight the most important ones depending on the type of article you are writing. Of course, you wouldn't want to write make your first paragraph too voluminous. All right, so that is the way it is. Then after your introduction, the next thing is the body of the article. The body of the article should contain the causes, the effects, and the solution. And you have to pay more attention to what the examiner has asked you specifically to write about, because like the question we looked at here, the examiner is giving you a specific assignment to discuss the effects. So you can touch other aspects, but you will project the effects more, because that is exactly what the examiner has asked you to dwell on. So then the conclusion, and after your conclusion, the name of the writer and the location. So we have seen this all in all, and I want to believe that you have actually learnt how to create an outline, and then having the features in mind, and then how to write your headline. I want to emphasize here that the headline we have used a method I call the total capitalization method. You can see that our title or headline is written in capital letters. There is another method of writing it. If you use the combined method, it means you have to write vandalization. You begin with capital V, then the other ones will be in small letters. So it will be like this. All right, vandalization. See, okay, let me just give you some example. Vandalization, okay, and then when you come to off, which is an article, I mean a preposition, you write it in small letter. All right, off should be in small letter, and then public should begin with a capital letter. The rule is that the content words like nouns, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives should all start with capital letters, but other lesser words or function words such as articles, conjunctions, prepositions, auxiliary verbs, and pronouns, those ones should be written with small letters, just as we are writing off here, which is a preposition. Then public facilities should also start with capital letter. All right, facilities, and then other things. In should be in small letter. All right, small letter here, in. All right, Nigeria should start with capital N because it is a noun. Okay, and then once you use this method, what do? You neatly underline. All right, you underline with a ruler, of course. You underline it. So that's the second method. But if you are not conversant with this particular one, instead of going to commit blunder, you just write everything in capital letter, as that appears quite simpler to do. All right, so now that we have been able to go through the whole thing, I want to thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon so that you will receive notifications whenever I upload a new video. If you have benefits or that you have learned from this particular lecture, don't forget to leave your comments below, as that will tremendously encourage me to work harder in uploading other videos. If you have any suggestions as to how I can improve the quality of my video, don't hesitate to leave your comments as well. Moreover, if you have any topic in mind that you would like me to treat in subsequent lectures, of course you can suggest that. I always listen to my friends who always watch my videos, and I follow their suggestions with excitement. Those who have suggested some topics in the past are aware of what I'm saying. I have always treated that with dispatch so that we will all keep learning. So thank you for tuning in today. See you in the next video, and bye bye for now. Remain blessed.